lots to talk about with Titans and the season 4 mid-season finale. One of the things that stood out first was Connor being able to really embrace the Luther side of things. We got the shaved head. I also just love that there was a real, it seemed like, attention to shine a light on the intellect side of Luther, as well as the ruthless side that we all very much, like that, like immediately pops into your brain. But he's also a very smart guy, so it was nice to see that. What did you enjoy most about kind of exploring that with him in that episode?
Well, I love how Rich Haddam originally wrote him, just to kind of make him just the kind of like fratty prick with the jacket and the cologne and the haircut. And then I really like how the writers embraced it. Everybody had a shot at it. Brian, Rich, Jamie, Tom, myself, Prathi and Josh in the earlier stuff, where he really starts when he gets infected by the snake, to really kind of go down, and Mel, to really go down this path of not exploring just necessarily the external manifestation of this transformation or exploration, right? But the internal one. And so what does that mean to really be Lex? And he had to make some mistakes in that journey. And those mistakes had to be such that he went too far in order to go, okay, that's not me. And that was the hardest part. I think that's the part that the fans are going to wrestle with most, because he does something that's not great, and we cut out some stuff that's worse. And to really kind of go that far to see himself going, that's not me now. That's too far. And yes, that took a while to figure out what that was, and took a while, for Connor, for Josh to get his head around it, and Nick to direct it. But we ended up getting in the spot where I felt like we've earned his way back now. That was the key, is to not just have him go on kind of like some kind of crazy party where he gets drunk on Patron and then comes back and tells everybody he's, seen his Lex side and he's okay. Like, to really go there. So that's what the goal was.
Are we going to get to see some of those the things that were cut out in the deleted scenes featurette or something at some point, or did they never make it to that stage?
They made it, and you're never going to see them.
Oh, you're killing me. Well, big,
at the extent that I have any control over it, Warner Brothers has it. Then maybe one day they'll put it out. So
in the vault. Another big moment was for Raven, and it was great. I mean, fans have, like, that character has become beloved within the show, and it was one of those things coming into this season and having her be depowered and trying to kind of wrestle with that stuff. And so for number one, just to see her back in action in that respect was great. But then also White Raven having the look and all that big change, was that always going to happen at this part in the story? And what can you kind of tease for her coming up?
Well, I think it felt, we never went full White Raven, because that comes with its own kind of character specificity. But we did want to kind of alter her, and kind of, so much about this is starting with Tegan, who was freaking 12 years old when we started this show, and that was basically an adult. She is an adult, and she's a movie star in her own right. To kind of really watch that character evolve and take on wisdom, and to go through difficulty and find her way, and to the point where she's very settled now. I think that's where we wanted to go with her, and to kind of not be, wise is usually kind of boring in TV movies, but to someone who has lived and seen a little and is smart and funny and will take on our guys. And I love how she kind of bosses Dick around towards the back half of the season, and how he lets her, and considering this so in many ways starts with the two of them. Detective Grayson and this girl running from the horrors of her home. So I really liked where she was going, and then also her final decision to what she wants to do with her life, and how it's not necessarily defined by being a Titan or by being defined by her past, but a more sense of a future for her, an integration of both being, she's the daughter of a monster, but she's also something else as well. And so kind of exploring that duality, I thought she did really well.
Well, I love that you brought up the wise thing, because like wise so often in TV and movies and even books, it can so easily come off as condescending, or pretentious. And she's not that at all. But and Dick's not that way either, and when he relays things. And so I just think the show's handled that so well. with the character.
Well, that's all I mean, the writing's in there for sure, but we struggle with it. But the characters, the actors, they really know those characters. And so I have a real sense of what the character would do or wouldn't do.
Well, that moves into Brother Blood too, because it's been impressive. We use Brother Blood, but really it's Sebastian, because he just becomes that character the very end of that first chapter of the series. And I saw it. There was it's kind of people feeling stuff out, like, how do we like this? It's taking things slow, that really kind of breaking that character down to a person before we get to the kind of more super hero style stuff in the second half. And I really think it's gone over well. And especially in that episode, there's so many little moments in his past and the formative moments that have kind of made him, and you really feel for this person. And so what's it been like to see that pay off and reception to it? And what can you tease about him now that he's fully, or at least he seems to be fully, on that side of the fence? What can you tease about going forward?
Well, certainly, kudos to Joseph Morgan, who's just, knocks it out of the park, and was patient with us as well to kind of explore those parts. I love the way that we, of course I do, but but it was so intentional to go through that process of this guy who's tempted by, first of all, the burden of not being seen and to not being heard and not feel a place in the world, with great hopes and intelligence and desire, but very few people supporting him. And then to have this evil swoop into his life that I don't think any of us could have resisted. I don't think it would, Rachel did, but she had the Titans behind her, and he had a chance to resist it with the Titans behind her. But he had lived a lot longer than she did, and suffered a lot more loss and frustration, and plagued by insecurity and doubt. So he's a say at some point becomes a willing victim of a potential for greatness and the potential to be seen and to be heard, to be powerful. And he can't turn his back to it. And I wanted to get to the point where the audience would understand his choice, that give him the better argument to go and do it. And I think we got mostly there, to feel that you understand why he did what he did. He just doesn't want to be nobody anymore. And so he's able to kind of escalate that then into being Brother Blood. But once he's Brother Blood, doesn't necessarily mean that you leave your past behind. It doesn't mean you leave your past, insecurities and doubts, vanities behind. And he ultimately, struggles with them in a way that allows the Titans to have an insight into who he is and find a kind of crack him.
Well, it's funny too. There's that, I know it's in certain realms of entertainment and sometimes sports and things like that, but there's always that thing of, if you're loved or hated, you're generating a very devout feeling either way. But apathetic, apathy is can be the worst, because you're not generating any, right? And so it's been interesting to see him deal with that, and you can absolutely understand it. And I also love that there's hesitation there. Obviously he's grown to be friends with Raven, and she understands him in a way, but I think it did that really well. You broke my heart a little bit in this season, because I adore Jinx.
Oh, Jinx. I know everybody did. Lisa just knocked it out of the park. I know I say that a lot, but she really did. She stole a lot of scenes from the very beginning, and she was fun to have. And we ended up, for a variety of, a series of unfortunate events, having to kind of put her away and then have her come back, and would have definitely, had there been a season 5, she would have been a major part of it.
Yeah, well, and it's also like she made an impact, and that's why it was, a lot of people are talking about that not again line was there. Is that something, because we obviously know, that this is going to be the final season, and so is that something that's going to be dealt with or explained in this season? Like, can people look forward to getting an explanation for what that means?
Yeah, you will. I think you'll definitely get an explanation. I think you'll get a sense of what that means to her in kind of a metaphysical way, and what that means for her in terms of what her journey is.
Now, before we kind of get to the end note here, well, actually, no, we go right into it because it all leads together. So for the final scene, obviously, Sebastian really embraces things. We get kind of the scream and that power, and then all of a sudden the Titans are just like gone, and we're like trying to figure out what is happening there. How, for the second chapter, is that something that is addressed pretty quickly? Is that something that's going to be a longer running mystery in those final episodes? What can you tease about what's coming next for that chapter?
You mean what happens to Titans and why they come back?
Yeah,
that we'll know about pretty quickly, what that story was, and for all of them except for Gar. And the Gar mystery teases out and plays into his larger journey more.
Awesome. And I know I have to let you go here because fans are obviously disappointed, sad to see that this will be ending. I know for me, I've enjoyed this since season 1, and I've adored this series. Did you guys know that it was going to be the final season kind of early on to be able to kind of craft this as a final season? Or
we wrote it from the beginning like that, knowing that that's always a possibility. I mean, other than going 1 into 2, we never knew if we were coming back on this show. But this one, we were like, we're not going to miss an opportunity. I've been on shows before where we didn't, and it was we didn't write it as a finale, and then we didn't come back. And I absolutely vowed not to have that happen again under my watch. And so the team was embracing it, and I felt like we also wanted to have an ending that really gave fans permission to enjoy the characters they love. To not have it end on a bummer, but end on the possibility of hope in the future, and where Dick and Corey could go and where everyone could go. And then ultimately, if we had to come back for season 5 and some miracle happened, we could build that. So that was the idea.
Awesome. Well, I sincerely appreciate the time, and all the best success. I cannot wait to see the rest of how the season plays out. So thank you so much.
I can't look forward to talking to you at the end of the season again as well. Thank you, Matthew.
Absolutely.